Hey, Radiant Souls, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather. If you're new here, I am an intuitive counselor, author, artist, animal communicator, energy healer, teacher, and coach. And I'm on a mission to empower and embolden others to connect with their divine radiant light and honor the sacred connection with all life. One of the ways I do that is through channeling messages from guides who are beings in the angelic, spirit, multidimensional realms, locations, however you want to refer to it. They refer to themselves as the Idolar. So you'll see that on screen in a minute. And from their description, they are a coalition of light. So they are not a council. They're not advising in that way, like here are the rules that you must follow. They are just sharing a different perspective. So today they wanted to talk about Ascension and share with us some different ways that we can view it, some different methods we can kind of frame it for ourselves that are maybe a little bit different from what we're hearing in other conversations. So that channeling comes right after this, and I'll be back at the end to chat with you for a little bit. So enjoy. Hello, bright and beautiful beings. We would speak to you in this moment of your time about the topic that many of you refer to as Ascension. And we understand even in that word, you are painting a picture of going up, climbing, transcending something beneath you, below you, so that you are on a higher platform, have a higher perspective, have a higher aspect. We would ask you to consider repicturing this and reframing this for yourself instead as concentric circles. For in your world, there is much weight placed on higher being better, and that is not the case. And since you have this indoctrinated, if you will, within your collective minds, when you say higher frequency, higher dimensions, you automatically feel that is somewhere better for me to be. That is somewhere I would aspire to be. Anyone who is therefore better than someone who is not there. And we would say that is untrue. When you picture the path of evolution, which is really what Ascension is for you, not evolution as you deem it from biological species on your planet, but an evolution, a revolution of your soul, for it is another turn of your soul. So in that case, revolution may be a better phrase, and that takes us back to our suggestion of viewing Ascension as concentric circles, around and around and around. And not in a repetitive phrase unless you cannot learn what it is that you are choosing to learn as a soul in the circle in which you are in. Once you learn that, you can expand out into the next circle, and then the circle after that, and then your circle merges with the circle of others who are also in that outer layer of lessons and expansion. And in that way, it feels more as a connection, as a linking and syncing of like minds and elevated souls, rather than climbing up and looking down or looking back. Another way we would ask for you to consider and be mindful that our words are merely suggestions. If they do not feel true to you, rule them out, toss them out, come back on another day and listen, for not every message is meant for every person. But we would ask you to consider Ascension in 3 different ways as well. And again, with the overlay or the image or the template of the concentric circles. At this time in your world, you have many challenges with structures, organizations, schools, workplaces. We say to you in this time that you can use those and your views and perspectives upon those institutions as lessons and as points of view for Ascension. Let us give an example. If you consider the current traditional school system that many of you have in place on your planet, There is a progression from one grade to the next, to the next, to the next. And again, you see that is painting the picture of being better than. A higher number is a higher level of knowledge or a higher level of experience. And that may be true, but it embeds and imbues within you that ranking system that so many of you default to. So we would say, first, take that off the table. Higher, not better. Larger number, not better. Because for those seeking ascension as an avenue or a path to higher wisdom, again, higher, more embodied wisdom, we would say, there is no better. There is no higher. There is no judgment of one another, of self. So many of you say, I am on an ascension path, or he or she is not on an ascension path. And with that, you place a label, you place a judgment, and you are not embodied. For when you are labeling something, you are outside of it, pointing a finger, looking at it externally instead of looking at it from within. But back to our example of the school system, school institution, and structure in your world today. Many of you are viewing ascension as if you could skip a grade, as if you could graduate from something on your earth school. If you could take a placement test and go a little bit higher without the bother of needing to go through something. In this example, sit through a class. And we would say to you, when you are looking at a soul's progression, a soul's revolution, on those concentric, beautiful, ever-expanding circles, you cannot bypass, you cannot skip the time that is necessary for you to learn what is necessary for you to learn. There is no placing out. There is no skipping a grade. We would also say there is nothing that you can recess from. That is another image that is in the institution of education. And there is purpose for these different zones of time in the institution of education. You are learning when it is done appropriately, and we understand there is some corruption in this institution, but in the best and highest case scenario, you are learning what is appropriate for your growth at that time. So when you start early kindergarten, you are learning social skills. You are learning what is appropriate for your development at that time. As you progress through those grades, those chapters, you learn what is appropriate for you at that time. You may learn more advanced knowledge, but you are also having more detailed, more involved relationships with your peers. You are taking on, as you say in your time, extracurricular activities. You are exploring for yourselves what is appropriate for yourselves at that point in development. And ascension is similar. You cannot be at a certain level of experience. And again, we say the word level reluctantly, and a circle of experience, and choose to learn or grow from something that is many circles outside of your own. If you do that, you distort the beautiful shape of the circle that you're in, and you inflate, conflate, and fail to relate to what it is that you're there to learn. So in that way, if we pull back the lens and look at a collective lesson on your planet right now, it is for all of you to say, does this natural progression of one leading to the next, higher grades being better, is that something that we choose to carry forward as we create and step into the next circle of our soul's revolution? So in that way, rather than placing judgment on a system that may you may see to be less than or failing, see what it is that it is reflecting back to you, that is not an appropriate way for you to view any revolution or growth for your soul. And that does not mean that you perhaps do not invest time to change that institution if that is something you wish to do, but allow it to be a reflection and a mirror for you in how you view your own growth. Is it that more knowledge is always better? Or is it that embodied truth is what allows you to be resonant and honor what your soul craves in this moment? The other reflection we would share with you as a parallel to the ascension process is that of retirement. In your world at this time, there are many who work in a job for decades, and you have a plan that you invest into, or your employer may invest into, and you save, you maintain things that when you then choose to no longer work, you are allowing yourself to be taken care of essentially by the past version of you. How can that be a reflection for ascension? What is the work that you are investing in right now for yourself in order to allow the future version of yourself to feel safe, to feel cared for, to feel nurtured, to have abundance? And we do not mean financial abundance in this example, but to feel broad, to feel expansive. For it is the work that you do now that invests in that. So, to look at that as a reflection, we also know that earth-based form of working for decades to invest in something that then pays off at a later time, there are flaws within that in the way that it is structured, but it can still be a lesson for you. For the very premise of putting in the work is an important thing. What work are you putting in for your soul's evolution? For again, many of you feel that ascension is this door, that if enough of you lean upon it, you will push it down and everyone can pass through. And that is not it. It is both intensely individual and collective. And if you are not experiencing the individual aspect, you will not experience the collective aspect. And that individual aspect comes with embodied truth. It comes with a daily reckoning of your own soul's truth in a way that honors your light and allows it to come through. You may have heard the phrase spiritual bypassing. And we like this description, for it feels as though some of you, and maybe no one listening to this broadcast, but many of you, you may see around you on the quote unquote spiritual path, they aim to take the faster road. They aim to take the bypass on the freeway. And if you think of that example in your current real world, a bypass exists so that you do not need to, for instance, go through the traffic within a city. You do not need to be slowed down. You do not need to be bumper to bumper with someone else. You do not need to be at a stoplight here and a stoplight there. And we say to you, that is the point of your existence. Not to sit in traffic, literally, but to experience those things that give you pause, to experience those things that delay you, that slow you down. For those are your lessons. So if you seek to jump on the faster path, thinking you will arrive at a destination more quickly, it will be a very hollow experience for you. There is no not learning in your time, for that is what your soul chose to do. It is glorious. It is beautiful. And in the existences of higher dimensions, there are still challenges. There are still lessons. A soul is always learning. So do not feel that if you ascend, you're free. You've escaped. There are other lessons. There are other experiences that you will have. So we would say to you, in the way in which you can, enjoy the path that you are on. Imagine for yourself the image of the concentric circles where the absolute gem and seed of your soul is at the very center. How broadly can you expand out from that and still find your way back? How much can you radiate out into the world? We would share with you one additional example. Imagine that you went shopping for clothes, for electronics, for items for your home. And you did this in what you may call a grab bag method. Just put things in the packages for me. Just give me whatever. I don't need to try clothes on. I don't need to measure things for my home. I don't need to make sure that the electronics work with the electronics that I have at home. Just give it to me. That is how many of you are viewing Ascension. Just let me ascend. Just bring it. Just do it. But it is in the trying on of the clothes or the testing of the electronics or the measuring of the items for your home that you feel, see, sense, know what fits you, what fits your soul. So again, do not be rushed to have a future experience when you are not fully present in the experiences you are having. So we would say to you, if you are looking around and seeing others as holding you back, we can't ascend because this person is doing something. We are slowed down in our ascension because something isn't happening yet. That is always an indicator. That impatience that you feel is always an indicator to return to yourself. And ask yourself in that moment, what am I avoiding within me? Why am I looking externally when I could be working within? And that does not mean you don't aim to change, affect, improve things in your world. But come at that from a space of service and a space of love rather than a space of judgment or fear. Always return to self, dearest friends, seeing evolution as love first. We thank you for sharing these moments with us. Be blessed. Okay, what did you think? How did you find that? Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you thought. I really like the image of the concentric circles and thinking that our soul's growth, rather than climbing a ladder, is expanding outward. And when you think of frequency, that, you can think of it in that way too. You're able to broadcast more out. And the fact that as you are expanding out concentrically from your center, you're allowing more experiences in, you're allowing more knowledge, you're allowing more growth. And then someone next to you, metaphorically, who is doing the same on the same path of growth, they're expanding out, and then your fields can interrelate and merge. And that is how that frequency and that, I was going to say up leveling because that's a hard habit to break, but that expansion and that calling in of higher, again, it's hard. We don't have the language yet to not say it, but those other frequencies, those more potent, I'll call them, frequencies, that's how we start holding that space more here for one another. So again, let me know what you think in the comments, and I hope you found this helpful. I'll see you next time. Bye.